Hey there everybody, hope your day's going well. Jacared Old School Gaming here, and welcome back to another Wild Wednesday. Yeah, so this one just kind of caught my attention as I was looking through all the different theories. A lot of them have to do with second gen, or they're really long, which I don't feel like doing a long one right now. Is that what she said? I don't know, but anyway, fairly shorter theory, just the Pokemon theory. How do trainers identify their Pokeballs? I'm guessing it has a little more to do with the anime than the games, or hell, even the manga, because, like, the manga, there's no red top. It's just completely clear. You can see the tiny version of a Pokemon inside. It's like, okay, yeah, this is the one I want. But in the anime, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, I think, yeah, I kind of have my own thoughts on it, but I'm going to wait for ProtoMario to get through things, and then I'll give my own thoughts at the end. So, let's get into this video.
Hello and welcome back, YouTubers, to another episode of Pokemon Theories. I'm your host, ProtoMario, and this is the show where we discuss theories ranging from Red being a ghost to why the heck Jinx looks the way she does. Hello and welcome back, YouTubers. I'm ProtoMario, and today's Pokemon theory was asked by Cool Charizard 345, and you are so cool! How do trainers know which Pokemon is in the Pokeball? That's a good question, Charizard. But since you're such a cool Charizard, I'll answer your theory. So first, let's look at the facts. Pokeballs have already been discussed in my Pokeball theory. What's inside a Pokeball?
Yeah, I did see that one, but it's over 10 minutes. I'll definitely address it some point in the future. There's just an ungodly amount of stuff I have to catch up on. So in order to keep up these monthly things, at the very least, Wild Wednesdays, I try to keep them a little shorter, and then like Thoughtful Thursdays, well, they are their own thing, which there's yeah, the second part of Alicization, and a lot of comments to shout out this month. But, well, or for the one that will be coming out next, it's kind of essentially ones that'll come to the Thoughtful Thursdays that'll come tomorrow for the day this video comes out. There's quite a bit to go through. Anyway, I don't know about the theory about, like, what is inside a Pokeball. My initial thought would just be, like, technology that kind of analyzes and, well, that's it, just analyzes the Pokemon, and then either, like, the trainer can keep it with them, or it automatically gets transferred to Professor Oak's laboratory, where he can possibly do more study on it. But, yeah, that's a completely different theory. So, yeah, I mean, like, what's inside a Pokeball? I guess it doesn't. Does it really affect this one too much? Hopefully not. But anyway, back to you.
So if you were wondering what Pokeballs are and what they're about, go ahead and check it out. Otherwise, I'm going to summarize it real quick. Pokeballs are capsules that were invented by Silphco in the later years and were used to catch Pokemon, ranging from a 100% capture rate with the Master Ball to a 1 in 256 capture rate with the Pokeball. Lord knows there are tons and tons of Pokeballs out there. Some are made from apricots and others are made mass-produced by the Silphco.
And of course, there are different things you can do to increase capture rate, like, weaken the Pokemon, bring its hit points down, put it to sleep, paralyze. Like, poison burn can help, but there's also the risk that the opposing Pokemon will faint because, well, I mean, that's a constant damaging thing. There's also, freezing? But, I mean, like, there's no status move that would, at least that I know of, that instantly freezes a Pokemon. There's things like Ice Beam, Aurora Beam, Blizzard, Ice Punch. At least those are the four I can think of off the top of my head. There might be more, but essentially those all have a small chance to freeze the Pokemon. And essentially a frozen Pokemon is just, oh hey, that's That's all there is to it. It's not going to become unfrozen unless a fire move is used on it, or there's like a small chance 2nd gen and beyond that a Pokemon will become unfrozen in the middle of combat. But yeah, there are multiple different variations of different capture capsules, not just the regular Pokeballs, but many more, and varying price as they get to higher and higher chances of being able to capture a Pokemon. But even so, you want to have a high of a chance as possible to capture the Pokemon. So you weaken it and you put it to sleep or paralyze or freeze it, whatever. I'm not sure what in the hell that was. Like, something went weird. I'm not sure if it'll show up in edit or maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. Could be, but yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that's just the Pokeballs themselves, and of course some are uniquely designed. Like how in the anime Totodile's Pokeball is a lure ball, and there are other different types of balls. I still have yet in 2nd gen to even get to Kirk. I think like Azalea, something to do with Azalea Town going. I don't know. I have to wait for a Friday when I'm free and I have the time and the energy to do something, because one of the weekday siblings is on the route from Violet City to Azalea Town. But yeah, that's that's super far in the future, and I'm rambling. So back to you.
So, Pokeballs themselves are not really that different from each other. When you have a bunch of Pokeballs and that's all you use, how do you know which Pokemon you're selecting for battle? Go Charizard? Pikachu, what were you doing in that Pokeball? I didn't mean that. Return. Go Charizard? Vaporeon? God dang it, which one is Charizard? It is somewhat troubling. However, I have several answers for this Pokemon theory. In fact, it is shown in the anime Ash chooses a Pokeball to battle Team Rocket when they're having some kind of a dinner party. And when he sends Charizard out, Misty asks him beforehand, is that Charizard's Pokeball? And he says yes, without looking at the Pokeball, without trying to figure out the identifying marks on the Pokeball that would make him Charizard.
Well, it could be that Ash is mainly just knows exactly which order he always puts the Pokeballs in. In a comparative sense, whenever I play a PC game, I always remap the controls to something that feels a hell of a lot more comfortable to me personally than the WASD movement. I use the arrow keys, and then I use the other buttons around the arrow keys, like the number pad and the page down, end, delete, enter, shift, control. I use the buttons around there to kind of make things easier, just for me personally. And it's always the same exact thing no matter the game. It's okay, this is always crouch, this is always run, this is always interact, this is always pick up. And some games, maybe there's no sneak mode, or maybe there's no crouch mode, rather. And in some games, hey, maybe there's a fixed movement so you can't run. But, all the other controls are essentially around the same area, so it's just okay, this is what I want, this is what I'm doing. And then when I switch between different games, as long as the mapped controls haven't reset themselves, as happens a lot with some games, especially when they update. Yeah, but I always remap the controls to what feels comfortable for me, so that way it's kind of like a seamless transition between games no matter what game I want to play. And maybe it's the same with Ash reaching onto his belt for a Pokeball. It's okay, I know this one is always Charizard. It's always going to be Charizard. And, that is different than the game, because in the game you actually select, okay, which Pokemon goes up first, which one, and then the others below that. But maybe with Ash, it's just he's not forced to select which one comes out first. He just says, okay, I'm choosing this one. And it's the fourth one on his belt, and it's always Charizard. No matter what. maybe something along the lines of that.
Oddly enough, in the first episode, there's a Pokeball that Ash receives for Pikachu. Ash never uses this Pokeball outside the first few episodes. However, the Pokeball is marked with a lightning bolt. That would symbolize which Pokeball Pikachu belongs to. I could understand if trainers would mark their Pokeballs with special indication showing which Pokeball they have. However, it is noted that on almost every Pokemon character sprite in the game, in the original games, from the red and blue to yellow to the later games, many trainers actually have their Pokeballs arranged in some strange way. Jugglers are juggling them in a certain way, Other trainers have 6 balls on their chest in a different order. From front to back, you can easily identify which Pokemon you are going to use.
Yeah, and like I said, it's always a very specific order. It's like, okay, so throw out, like you said, throw out Charizard. Okay, you know what, Charizard, return, and I know exactly which slot Charizard will go into. Let me pick out Pikachu. Okay, now Pikachu, maybe the second slot instead. Okay, Pikachu, go in battle, now Pikachu return, and back into that exact same slot. It's not like a game of hot potato. It's just like, okay, this is exactly where I want. Like, hell, even jugglers, I'm sure, would know, okay, which Pokeball is which, because of, in order to juggle, you have to keep track of what's in the air and what's in your hands, so they're able to keep track of which Pokemon is where at all times. It may seem like extra complicated. I'm kind of explaining it out in a more complicated way than it needs to be, but yeah, it is what it is.
So, that is the theory on this. Other than that, if you don't mark your Pokeball and they get mixed up somehow, like Misty's frickin' backpack, I have no idea how you would be able to call out which Pokemon you would want. There is another way to call out your Pokemon, though. You don't have to throw your Pokeball to release your Pokemon. As shown with Sabrina, you can just drop the ball, you can hold the ball, and with many other trainers, you just hold the ball and you call out your Pokemon's name and they get released. So, in my opinion, as long as the Pokemon is maximized to its capacity instead of its shrunken form, if you say your Pokemon's name, they hear their name called, they come out.
Okay, so almost like a voice activation type thing. Huh. Maybe it's not the Pokemon that hears it, maybe it's like the Pokeball with the level of technology to shrink Pokemon from their size down to a teeny little thing. Maybe it's maybe sometimes, or maybe not sometimes, maybe a lot of times, it can be voice activated, just like, okay, I call on this one, and this Pokemon comes out. There was even there was an episode, I'm not sure if it was in the Orange Islands, or if it was part of Johto, but essentially, Ash tried to, call out a different Pokemon other than his Snorlax, but then he accidentally threw the Snorlax out, and just, wait, hold on, it's not supposed to be Snorlax, let me recall, but then the Pokeball was busted, and he had to wait, or he had to try, well, not try, him, Misty, and Brock, or was it, no, that time it would have been Tracy, yeah, it was an Orange Islands one, so, Ash, Misty, and Tracy had to help Snorlax get up over the mountain, back down the mountain, and then eventually get the Pokeball fixed, and Ash was able to recall Snorlax. So maybe occasionally the a mix-up does happen, but it's not so often. It's one of those super unique things. Well, this is a unique situation. Well, we have to go back to the Poke Center, wherever it is, and get the Pokeball fixed. Simple as that.
It's as simple as that. I don't see any other reason or how another trainer would be able to identify their Pokeballs without some sort of outward marking. So if that is a good enough answer for this Pokemon theory, guys, I'm going to be signing out. And remember, if you have an opinion on this Pokemon theory, leave it in the comments section below. And of course, if you have a Pokemon theory and I use that Pokemon theory, I will give you a shout out before the video. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.
Okay, well, that's gonna be it for this theory. And yeah, I mean that, without outside markings, yes, occasionally, like I just mentioned, occasionally maybe Pokemon do get mixed up, but we don't really see that because it's just like, sometimes it happens, kind of like if you drink a soda, maybe a burp. It's not really something that you need to announce or you need to make a log of. And I did mention earlier, if I kind of wanted to save it till the end, but I did mention it a little ways earlier, that at least in the manga, they do, there's no red top. You can just, it's just a white bottom with a clear over top, and you can see the little Pokemon inside. Then in the anime, yeah, maybe it's, more along the lines of, okay, slot 1 is always this, slot 2 is always that, slot 3 is always the other, so on and so forth, all the way up to 6. And then, in the games, it's like, okay, I specifically want to put this Pokemon up, and, in the games, we don't really see the Pokeballs on the belt. Maybe they get a clear coat, and we just, the player being controlled sees, okay, I want, this one in spot 1, then the rest, honestly, beyond the first, the rest really doesn't matter. It's kind of, maybe it's not so much switching slots on the belt for the game, maybe it's more just, being in control of the trainer, you want to say, okay, I want this Pokemon out first. And I will always select this Pokemon to go out first. Maybe something along those lines. Yeah, so I mean, there's really not much more to say about this. I mean, it is what it is. And I will have to check out, the what's inside the Pokeball theory, because, I mean, you can summarize it as it's, a capsule device to capture a Pokemon based on, and there's 100% chance for the Master Ball, up to a very low chance with the regular Pokeball, at least when the wild Pokemon is at full health. Yeah, and of course, there, a multitude of ways to weaken the Pokemon, get it just, oh hey, I want you here. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to keep going over and repeating myself, so that's gonna be it for this one. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, hit that bell so you can be notified whenever I upload another video, and as always, have fun.